how do we tell if we're intuitive?
The intuitive spirit is our sacred gift. The rational mind, its faithful servant. Sadly, we've thrown away the gift and have become enslaved to the servant. So your intuition is your receiver. It is the driver of our life. It is the life force, highest consciousness. So we can tune into these more subtle energies. And this is the energy of your guides. And this is the one that brings the gold. This is the inner guidance that comes in. This brings the gold.
Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation. If you've ever wondered how to develop your intuition and learn how to trust it, then do we have the Trust Your Vibe show for you. Today I'll be talking with Sonia Choquette, best-selling author, spiritual teacher, sixth sensory consultant, transformational visionary guide, and the author of a brilliant book on boosting your intuition, Trust Your Vibes. And that's just what I want to talk with her about today, about how to trust your vibes and secret tools for sixth sensory living. That, plus we'll talk about barking dog ego, psychic viruses, the power of freeze, lubing the Tin Man, tantrums and meltdowns, and what in the world tight butt syndrome has to do with anything. So welcome back to the show, Sonia. Are you ready to shine?
Always, always. It's a thrill to be with you. Yes, yes, yes.
Woohoo! All right, Sonia. And it's a thrill to have you here as well. Before we dive right into things, and we'll talk all things baby in a little bit, what exactly are vibes and are they real?
The world energetically is made of vibration. Everything has a vibration. Our 5 external physical senses pick up ranges of vibration that hit the eyes, the ears, the nose, the mouth, the fingers, the touch, the body. But our inner organs also pick up energy. Our heart and our gut, our throat, even our skin is capable of receiving energetic vibration. And these vibrations give people information.
Thank you. There's a term that I got out of my automatic writing. It's called deep listening. Deep listening means to use your entire body as a hearing, feeling sense that in in attunement. Sort of like if a note is played on one singing bowl, another one starts to sing as well. That is who and what we are.
Yes, we are instruments receiving energy and vibration. When we receive what I call subtle vibration, these higher notes, these higher octaves, these higher frequencies, we receive them from our heart. We receive them in our gut. We receive them internally. They convey information. They give us information just like what vibrations our physical senses perceive. And that information guides us. The receiver of this information, the voice, the guide within, the inner teacher, which is what intuition means, is the voice of our divine self. It is the driver of our life. It is the life force, highest consciousness. When this high consciousness is interacting with the world, we have heightened intuition. We have aware inner guidance. When we listen to it, which of course it's real, even science now validates the reality of intuition and vibration. So anyone who says it doesn't exist is very last century. We have moved into the modern world.
Well, what's interesting about that is all of the greatest scientific discoveries came from a scientist like Einstein brushing their teeth, shaving, or being in the shower and having an aha moment that did not begin or start with them.
That's right. They received an energy. We call it, and today the common word is download. People are having a lot of them. All of a sudden, these whole bodies of awareness drop in. And literally, they happen when we are brushing our teeth, ironing our clothes, folding the laundry, because our brain, our ego brain, our noisy brain is quiet. So we can tune in to these more subtle energies. It's like when two people are talking at the same time, you're going to hear the louder one. But if we can quiet that, we begin to hear the more subtle one. And this is the energy of your guides. And this is the one that brings the gold. This is the inner guidance that comes in. This brings the gold.
Thank you. What I've heard it described as by my guides is one heart mind. Om. We can hear the voice of Om once we start dialing back. Go to your toothbrush more often. Go to a forest. Go to anywhere to get yourself out of your thinking mind, and it is there.
Absolutely. And you know what you can also do if you can't go anywhere else? Go to your breath. Take a breath and breathe in and let out the sound. Ah. And it takes you right to the place that receives vibes, and it quiets your thinking noise.
So the big question that I want to ask is, how do we tell if we're intuitive?
Well, I have never met you ask, have you ever had an intuitive experience? Now, I've been teaching for 50 years. I've traveled around the world. I have never had someone say no. What they will say is, I'm not sure, but, and then they'll tell me this incredible intuitive experience. So it's not that we're not having these inexplicable, non-logical downloads of awareness. We just don't have the context necessarily to embrace them as meaningful, valid information. And that's what I'm helping people understand. This is your divine inner guidance, picking up the subtle energies and giving you information. And it's quick. It happens fast. And it doesn't happen in your head. It happens in your body. So you're not going to think I'm intuitive. You're going to feel it.
Is there a way to tell? So we look back at all New Thought books, particularly if we go around the turn of the last century. As a man thinketh. Think and grow rich. Think was the theme. And I think I feel we have moved past that to getting back to the feeling sense.
Well, I think thinking is the lens that can direct our creative forces. But feeling and intuition is the lens that guides and gives information on what resources we have to use to create. So your feeling body, your intuitive self, is guiding you. And then your thinking self, and Einstein said it best, so I'll quote him. The intuitive spirit is our sacred gift. The rational mind, its faithful servant. Sadly, we've thrown away the gift and have become enslaved to the servant. So what I say is that your thinking mind is the helper to the intuitive spirit that you are, and what we want to do is make sure that it's the helper and not the fighter, not the enemy. It's the support to your intuition. People whose conscious thinking mind will support their intuition end up people like Steve Jobs, who created something that transformed the entire world when he created Mac and Apple and the iPhone.
I'm surprised I'm going to go there, but we're going to have fun with this today. It's a teaching that I've been getting a lot lately, yin and yang, and having a balance between the two. And our minds, our world today is a very yang base, a very masculine, a very fight, forceful, get her done. But it's not so much yin in the heart. And I'm not saying that we just go to the divine feminine. We need a balance in order. Like you said, we need to be able to work with the servant. You have an idea of you want to go across the country. You need something that's going to help you look both ways before you cross the road. But we need to get back more to that balanced sense, don't we?
Right. And we need to know that the yin part of us is the part that receives guidance, direction, information. It's the part that takes in new information. Otherwise, we're just working on tapes. Our brain is just repeating the past, and we're missing what's happening right now. So that the divine masculine, and we want the divine masculine, because I don't want to say there's this implied that the masculine is negative. Not at all. The divine masculine is, okay, I'm going to take this information and I'm going to put it into practice, expression, put it to use. If it's only working with the intellect and the masculine, then where's the new information? Then we're just repeating the past, going around the same block. So your intuition is your receiver. It is your informer. It is your guide. It is bringing in what needs to be, what you need to be aware of to make the best decisions and make the best creations. Then the masculine is the executor. So the intuition is the guidance, and the masculine intellectual brain is the troops on the ground. Okay, let's go. We'll do this. You need both.
Thank you. It's interesting that you bring up troops. And for everyone, we're diving down this rabbit hole. You're going to get a lot of how-to information. We just want to really set the stage of what's going on energetically inside of you and inside of the world. You mentioned troops, so I can't believe I'm going to go there. However, would you say that we are actually getting more information now than ever, but maybe it's kind of a last gasp of the servant gone awry before we start to act on the information?
I am not hesitant to go there. I think that we are on the last coughing breath of the cling to power. And here's what's happening. Anytime a pattern breaks through, it first contracts and contracts and contracts. It's how babies are born. Contractions, breakthrough, contraction, break to a new. We are getting so much download. These conversations that we're having today, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, we were pretty much considered out in the wilderness. But now it's becoming more and more and more mainstream. So these last grasping efforts to hold on to the young are in our face. But this other balanced energy, this other awakening in humanity is marching in, and it's a force that cannot be stopped. We're just stewards to bring that force in and validate it.
Sonia, as you said that, this hasn't happened at this house before, where we are because of surgery with our baby and saving her life. One deer came by in front of the door, and you said marching, followed by a second. That's the divine speaking to us.
That's divine affirmation, Michael. That is the universe saying, thank you, dear.
Thank you, Mama dear and Papa dear. All right, so we've got this last gasp. We're going to a place where we're going to be more directed if we're willing to accept that. Let's talk about some of the ways, and I'm sure we're going to get to, well, okay, I'll go there. First off, I get to move in the next week. We have our baby. We had our 3 miscarriages. We lost 1 baby in utero. I only say that because we have a miracle baby now. She had heart surgery when she was born, and we may or may not need another procedure, so we get to stay local. We rented this one home to stay local near one hospital, then had to rent another to stay local to another hospital. Now we're back at the first. The reason I say that is we are looking for the right place to stay close to the hospital now during holiday season. It's challenging to find a place. It's summer season here. And the only way we can look for a place is by feeling into it. We can't go on Craigslist, Zillow, Airbnb and go through a checklist. We have to say, how does the body, and that's where I want to go, body sense. How does the body feel if I put myself in this listing or in this home?
And this is why you have to do this, because our body is our primary intuitive channel. It tells the truth, always. If it doesn't feel good, it's not for you. I don't care how you can rationalize it 10,000 ways. But I would also just say you're not on your own. You have an army of angels who are on the job. The ones that ushered in your beautiful daughter, the ones that protected her and is putting her in repeatedly good hands as she gathers her strength and solidifies in her human body and starts her journey. You will be helped and protected. And ask for that. Now, here's the thing about intuition that I want to say that is so valuable and have been saying forever. And this is a radical thought for a lot of people. It's new information. And this is a paradigm shift. Your inner guide, your spirit, the truth of who you are, is capable and qualified and effective in solving every single situation, problem, or challenge you will ever face. And you can count on it. Absolutely.
I couldn't agree more, but forgive me. How?
See, your intellect is what asks how. The answer is, I don't know. And there is a beautiful word. I love this word, and it's a Jewish. I got it from my Hasidic Jewish friend. She says Hashem. Hashem means God knows. I don't know. God knows. And God will lead me. Our prayer at the top of this conversation was move me in the direction of my highest good, right? Move me. Well, that prayer, I believe. When you believe and you open the door, then things tumble into place. It's not mental strategy. You do your part. You look and you look and make yourself aware of whatever options, but don't be surprised if you're going to be standing in line at the grocery store, overhear a conversation. It's going to be exactly about, I didn't plan on this, but I'm renting my house now. I got to go visit my daughter in Hawaii. Boom. And this is what makes the mind crazy. Your ego mind likes to know the how every step of the way. It wants to be predictable. It wants to be in control. But intuition is the antithesis of that. So what you do, and so that's why we go to what we call faith. Faith. Now, I'm not saying zip up, hang up the phone, don't look around, but I'm saying do what you can and know you're not the only one solving the problem. You have angels, guides, and God working too, and it'll work out. Just know that it'll work out. And we'll have a conversation about it. You'll tell your people on your podcast when it does work out. It will work out.
You ever skied, Sonia?
Yes, I grew up in Colorado.
Oh, well, there you go. All right. You know the fall line?
Yes.
When you go skiing and you go down this fall line, what happens if there's something in front of you?
You have to be flexible. You don't slam into it. You bend, you go with, you surrender. You don't fight, you surrender. That's what you do. And that is exactly what, okay, so let's talk about that, because the word surrender means I'm going to give up to some alien force that's going to hurt me. But if you look up the word, it means to allow a force greater than you to prevail. That is a divine force in you that will take over. And when you allow that, and every single intuitive experience you've ever had or anybody would ever explain will say, I can't explain it, but it worked out. And this is a conversation that I have had around the world for 50 years and in just about every country. So it's no big secret. Your mind is not equipped to handle the unknown, but your intuition and your spirit are, and it won't let you down.
And if you go down that run, particularly, let's say you go down a mogul run, if you try to think your way through it, you'll kill yourself. You follow what feels right. I feel like going right. I feel like going left. I feel like a quick turn.
And you have to breathe, and you have to not stiffen. And so what we do, and what I teach my students, is practice that now before you need it. Practice that so it becomes part of the way you respond to life, so that when you need it, your body's already conditioned to allow instead of contract. And let out the sound, because, and this is a little bit of science for you, part of our intuition hardwired in our body follows what's called the vagus nerve. Starts at the back of the head, through the jaw, through the neck, down the heart, into the gut. Awakens it. Awakens it. And that is your intuitive receiver. So breathe, sigh out loud, and move around a little bit.
So let's talk more about waking up our intuition, getting more in our bodies. Last night, I was gifted with perhaps the least sleep that I've had since we've had our newborn. Ooh, goody. And Jessica would nudge me, and my wife would nudge me in the middle of the night to go warm up some frozen breast milk, and I could not move for a minute because I was not back in my body. What does that mean? And literally, 2 nights ago was the first time I've ever experienced where I went to test to make sure the milk wasn't too hot, and I could not tell hot from cold. I'm running it under a faucet, and I'm going, I'm not back in here now. What does that mean, and how important is it, and how do we get back in our bodies for our intuition?
Now, if you are going to be a student of real esoteric study in metaphysical law, what you would hear is that we have a spirit body that travels at night on what is called the astral cord, that is like our energetic umbilical cord. Everybody's had a moment where they're conscious, but they can't move. It feels like, why can't I move? It's because your spirit is connected, your heart is beating, but it's not in your body. And everybody's had an experience of this because we travel when we dream. We leave our bodies and travel. What happens though, as you experienced when you couldn't move, when your spirit is not in your body, the body goes numb. There's no feeling. Now, you don't have to be dead asleep to have the body go numb. If you're up in your head all the time, thinking, planning, figuring out, strategizing, trying to control everything because you're so afraid that you can't even relax, you go numb. So when you go numb, not only does your intuition go dormant, you don't hear when people are talking to you. You don't smell the food. You don't taste what you're eating. Someone could be right in front of your eyes. You could be going, where are my keys? Where are my keys? And they're in your hand. Okay. So we've had that experience too. That numbed in your head doesn't have to be such a deep exhaustion, or that your spirit is sleeping when you're gone when you're sleeping. But the truth is, none of your senses work when you're stuck in your head. None of them work well. So it's not like, so let alone what I think is the most important sense, and I really will stand by that, the sense of your inner guidance. So to get in your body, I'll go back to what I said before. It's as easy as this. It's that easy. It's a breath and a slide. The opens the throat, gets you out of your mind, activates the heart, fills you with the spirit, which is your breath. So first it's the inhale, and then smile. The smile opens the curtains of your heart.
I love it. How much does taking care of our bodies open the curtains of our heart?
Well, let's just say the garage door opens if it's well oiled and on track, okay? So let's just say the better you attend to the system, the easier and more fluid it flows. And take care of your body is subjective, and that's not one size fits all, but the machine needs a few things. Okay, it can go without sleep. It's not ideal, but my daughter just had a baby too. I'm very sensitive and have done many night shifts, so I get it. But we can't go without air, we can't go without breath, and we can't go without water. So we need to make sure we're getting enough breath, enough water, and we can't go without real food. So real food means it's not packaged, it's not processed, it's not in a can over many, many days. Maybe you have an emergency. Okay, but we need green food. We need fruits and vegetables and proteins that give our physical body enough juice to run, because your heart is pumping enough blood to like travel the entire planet if we were going to stretch it out in a day. If you're on drugs, if you're drinking, if you're eating garbage food, your system is going to, all of your senses, not just your intuition, but all of your senses are going to malfunction, all of them. So the car won't run if you don't give it the gas and put air in the tires. Sorry, it needs water in the tank. But it doesn't, the miracle of the body is it doesn't need that much. It just needs some basics. So I am not an advocate of some high maintenance, super specific. I don't think that's correct. I think that's the ego getting involved again. I'm saying, listen to your body. It will tell you what it needs. If you can eat a big old French baguette, because I live in Paris, hallelujah. And you feel good, even better. If you eat it, you get a headache, you get a bellyache. Information, don't eat it.
When I lived in Aix-en-Provence, I would eat, it was a giant baguette with, at the time it was amazing, falafel balls in it with cucumber sauce with French fries.
I love that. I lived in X too, Michael. I didn't know we shared that in common. I lived there for a year.
When?
I was there in 1981 and 82.
Okay, you had me beat by about a decade.
I'm older than you, but it's the same. I live in France. It's still the same. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. But the point is, if food is loved and real, it'll take care of you.
Let's play with this for just a second. If you don't mind, how did you end up in France? How did you know that it was the right place for you?
Here's an interesting thing. We'll go way back in the day. I was a child. I had recurring dreams that I was a priest in south of France, and I was in a secret school. Nobody talked about that in my life, but I had these vivid, regular dreams. So when I was 19, 20, I just had to go. So I actually had a big old mental strategy. I joined the airlines to go, but I didn't get it to go to the Aix-en-Provence. I got to go to Peoria. So that didn't work out. So I quit that job and I told my girlfriend, but while I was a flight attendant, I said to this guy just before I quit, I want to go to France. I joined the airline to go to France, and here we are in Peoria. And he said, if you ever go, I'm going to give you the name of someone you can stay with, because I used to live there. He wrote on a small piece of paper, Madame Tavernier, and a phone number. I took that, went home, told my best girlfriend, I have friends in France. You want to move to France with me? She said, okay. I said, what are your friends? I said, the Taverniers. Never met them, never called them, talked her into it. We got on a train, we got on a plane, got on a train. Halfway down from Paris to Aix, I said, I haven't met my friends yet. I just have this. And she was freaked out and furious, but I said, trust me, it'll work out. So then we park. I said, have a hotel and we'll call them in the morning. So we go to this hotel, and it's a flop house. It's a prostitute hotel. So now we're at midnight in Marseille at a prostitute hotel.
Oh my. And Marseille's a wild town.
It is like Tijuana. Okay. So then we go for a walk at midnight looking for food, and we wander into a knife fight between drug dealers. We were like two fluffy bunnies tootling in. They come after us. We go running and screaming. A paddy wagon comes around, flashes their lights. Everyone scatters, grabbed us by the cuff, threw us in the paddy wagon, and 30 minutes after we got off the train, we were arrested. Freaking out, I start laughing because this is so absurd. Then the police officer said, let me see your arms, because he wanted to see if we had drug tracks. No drug tracks, we're just stupid. And he said, let me see your teeth. So then I show him our teeth. He goes, oh, you're Americans. And that made me laugh. I'll remember this forever. He said, what are you doing? And I told him in whatever French I could speak. He was like, you're in trouble. Took my girlfriend and I back to our hotel, got our suitcases, had his mom and grandmother feed us, took us to a home, and I stayed there for a year.
I just want to breathe this in for a minute.
That's the intuitive life.
You can't make this stuff up, and you went on a feeling sense. I've got to go. The thinking mind, which is your friend, very reasonable, would have been screaming at you, but you knew.
I knew it. And I could never explain. I endured hours of her rage, hours. And I kept saying, it'll be okay. Then we're in the back of the paddy wagon. She's screaming, we are arrested. I'm laughing, still saying it'll be okay. And another 45 minutes later, we're sitting inside a French house having a home cooked meal with grandma.
See what's cool to me, because you and I are angel folk. We're all angel folk. We just don't realize it. Whatever we want to call them, is clearly whatever put that feeling sense inside of us wasn't us. It wasn't you.
This was the divine plan. This was part of the divine plan. Now, here's what I'm teaching and have been forever, including back then. Go with it. Go with it. I know it seems insane, but how was your life working not going with it? How is that experience? Is it happy? Is it joyful? Are you secure? Are you in the right relationships with all this fear and control? How's that working out for you? Go with it a little bit. Just give it a little bit, because you're going to have such affirmation, you can go a little bit more. And you'll have more affirmation, you go a little bit more until pretty soon it's the only way to go.
What's the tight butt syndrome?
Tight butt syndrome is when you refuse to go with it and you live in your head, and it gives you these very specific signatures. First, there's no light in your eyes. You have drive-by eyes. It looks like this. Next, your jaw clenches because you're afraid. And then your gut gets tight and your butt gets tight and you're rigid. And you just move through life in your head. Tight butt syndrome is when you suck all the air out of your lungs, you're holding your breath, and you're braced for the worst. And you say, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine.
Eek. How do we then, I don't know if I can even say, how do we loosen our butts? How do we let go
of TBS?
Yeah, of TBS and that inner control freak that is holding on for dear life?
Well, the very first thing is you need to know that is not your spirit. So I recognize your spirit. And the way you do is start to name the things you love. So let's do it right now. Just fill in the blank. I love
Baby Hannah.
I love
my wife.
I love
Ruru.
I love
speaking with you.
I love
riding my bike.
Breathe. Let out the sound. Ah.
Ah.
Open your eyes, look around. How do you feel?
I said, Baby Hannah, I feel good.
Yeah, see? Are you thinking? Are you doubting? Are you frantically locked down? Or are you available?
Pretty available.
See, I think that the biggest reason that we need to trust our vibes is that they get us out of our heads, but are not available. They're not available to new information. Your heart and spirit are available. That is the part of you that's helpable. That is the part of you that your guides, angels, the universe can help. When you're in your head, they're all sitting around saying, how do we get in? I don't know. We're locked out. I'm available. I don't like the word vulnerable because of our language. Vulnerable means puts you in a position where you could be hurt. I use the word available.
It's interesting you mentioned language because I used to dream in French. I don't anymore. I've forgotten almost all of it. But I know that the construct of different languages, and French is pretty similar in many ways to English, the construct of different languages allows us to have different concepts and ideas and understandings. And it may be that these Romanic languages have locked us into a construct of the mind.
Well, I definitely think that especially the Cartesian, which is French, the value system became that the intellect is God. Definitely and it took over as the premier education force in the world for a long time.
I think, therefore I am.
Right. That education was what took us out of our hearts. Before that, we were very matriarchal. We were very heart-centered. We were very grounded. We were very earth-oriented. And then we went up the elevator and cut ourselves off. And this is it. This is why we're in the heap of mess we're in right now.
So how important, got baby in the other room, but how important, she does it as a regular thing and she's fully plugged in. You can see she's looking at us and then she'll look around and she's seeing other things. How important is daydreaming as a skill?
I think daydreaming is natural meditation. I think that's our meditation and going back to God. I have a granddaughter now. She's 14 months and she will be talking to us and all of a sudden she's just connected. And then 20 seconds later, I'm back. But you can feel she's connecting. Her eyes light up and she's just receiving source. It's natural. I was raised in a family where that was always encouraged, never discouraged. And that's how it has been so easy for me to not only be so connected, but to observe how others get disconnected and help them repair. But this daydreaming is dialoguing with the universe. It's dialoguing with our source, our creator, whatever you want to call it. It's where we come from.
Thank you. So let's go to the reverse of that for a second. It feels like in this last gasp time in the world, somebody has a giant Hoover vacuum and is trying to suck all of this creative force out of us to keep us
robots. I call it lamb chops. Sheep led to the slaughter right off the cliff. We are not meant to be lamb chops. We need to check in with our bodies. I always say, how's it working out for you? All you can really go on is your own experience. If your day is drudgery and dread and you don't belong and you feel like you don't fit in and you feel isolated, and even if your material needs are met, you feel empty, then you're missing something. You are missing the true driver of the bus of your life, your spirit. You are missing yourself, your true self. And unless that true self is reinstated and put in proper authority in your life, instead of asking everybody else to be the authority. I'm a big believer in the first commandment. The first commandment is not to have false gods. Other people's approval, in my opinion, is a false god.
That gets to a very big question, which is we're walking around in the sea of energy. And I teach a school of mystics. And to me, a mystic is an empath who's waking up to their energetic sensitivity. That's what a mystic is. The challenge with being an empath, and anybody who follows you, anybody who follows me is an empath. They are energetically more sensitive, which is meaning you're a forerunner. That's what you are if you're watching this. You are at the forefront of everything. But the biggest question we get to ask as an empath is, whose vibe is this?
Well, I agree. And I do talk about this often in my work. And I make it real simple. I love simple. Mind your own business. And that isn't a rebuff. It's an invitation to take care of what is important to your spirit. Other people have their lessons, their path, their life. That's not your business. It's their responsibility. It's their lessons. It's their journey. We can be compassionate. We can be supportive, but let's not suck it into our bones and swim in other people's energy and lose ourselves. So it takes awareness. We won't swim in other people's energy if you know what your business is. If you identify what your values are, what your priorities are, what you love and care about, and then mind that. And that will naturally serve as a boundary.
Thank you. How about a psychic virus?
Well, there are psychic viruses because we are empathic and we have what's called, these little kind of genomes jump back and forth between people. We exchange energy. And if someone comes into the room with a big negative energy and you're unprepared, you can get blindsided by someone's bad vibes. I call it, and you can relate to this, the poopy diaper in the room. It's just yuck. And I'm not going to ignore it, but we're all going to pretend that it didn't happen, but there it is. So I say, look, be aware. If someone else's bad energy is affecting you, don't take it personally. That's the biggest challenge because we're sensitive. It's like, why are you doing this to me? No, we take the to me part off the question. We just say, whatever you're doing, it's not feeling good to me. And I have the right to use my left and right foot and leave. Instead of going after them, I just say, excuse me, I don't feel good and I don't know why. I wonder, and walk away. That's super radical for people because they're not used to being that empowered. But you can walk away. Just say, I don't feel good. I got to go.
You and I have both been in situations where we're going to meet with people who, I don't know about you, I'm going to assume same as me. I send love to everyone, but I don't want to dance the Macarena with everyone. But if I'm going to be in the environment, I know I've got to be in an environment with a Hoover or with something of the sort. And I'm not labeling people as good or bad. Just if their energy isn't quite where I'm at, how do we surround ourselves? I'm picturing Archangel Michael with his sword. How do we surround ourselves with a shield so that we have awareness and intention so that we hold on to our own energy?
Well, here's the thing. First of all, you really should say no to what isn't good for you and do it without guilt. I do. It took me a while. We don't have to be people pleasers. And we could just say it's not for me. I'm sorry. I'm an introvert. I apologize. I just don't do well in groups or whatever. If it's like a wedding or a graduation or something, also give yourself permission to make it as brief as possible. That's the next thing. The third thing is to go in full of bright light and control the conversations. Go in and don't say, how are you? Say, wow, I see the spirit in your eyes today. You look beautiful. Whoa, what creativity. And speak to the spirit in people. Don't speak to the low vibe Hoover, what I call the barking dog. Don't get into a dog bark. Speak to the spirit and pull it forward, and you can take the vibe up.
Woohoo! What in the world is green fire?
Green fire is actually an ancient ritual to clear energy, and it works on fire, salt, and rubbing alcohol. I put it as a ritual in one of my books, Trust Your Vibes. If you feel the energy is heavy or toxic, this isn't so weird. In churches, they wear the incense if you're from the churches. If you're from temples or you're from mosques, they ring bells, bang drums, because this clears energy. So a green fire is a clearing energy ritual where you get, and do be careful, you get Epsom salt because salt pulls out impurities. You get a little rubbing alcohol because it's an activator, and you soak the salt, but you don't have it, you just make it wet. Then you light a match, and the Epsom salt burns a green fire. And this fire with the salt creates a vacuum that pulls in, and the salt will absorb heavy energy. And then you line the pot in which you're doing this with foil. You wrap the foil, take it out, and bam, you've just cleared the space.
It's a diaper for your space.
Yeah, if there's a dirty diaper energy, you need a green fire to clear it.
Awesome.
You can
also
open windows, bang drums, ring bells. All of this changes energy and clears it. Prayer, music, all of that clears the energy.
Let's talk about an internal one, which you actually dipped your toes into a minute ago. You gave people, as you entered this environment that you didn't necessarily wanted to be in, but you were very proactive, you gave people a new story. What's the importance of giving ourselves a new story?
Well, I really feel, and I just was finishing a 12-week, actually it was a 6-week mastermind with a group of 12 women. And I was giving them sort of rules for the road. And I said, don't be mesmerized by your own narrative. Because my teacher taught me, never assume you know anyone, and especially yourself. So let's not get locked into that our story encapsulates an understanding of anyone. Be surprised. Whatever you know of yourself, my mom used to say, is true but incomplete. So if what you know of your experience, and she was in the Holocaust and she was in a prison of war, she had plenty of things that really could have defined her experience, never talked about them. She wasn't in denial. She just said, I'm in a much more interesting production these days. And that was her focus.
Well, one of them is a very low vibration poison, no other way to put it. The other is a vibration of possibility, of love, of hope, of the angels, of the guides, of the universe.
Personal power to create an experience you want instead of be victim of the creations of others.
So how important is it then to start writing our vibes down and get an idea of what's going on in our inner landscape?
Well, that's a good question because, Michael, if we write something down, we, first of all, acknowledge it exists. And secondly, you'll have evidence after 2 weeks that it's worth paying attention to. It'll become the most interesting thing you read. So every time I say, write down every gut feeling, aha, every I wonder, every little hit. And, I know people are lazy. They're not going to write it down. So plan B is take that handy phone that's always in your hand, go to voice notes and record it. Just get it out of your head and validate it. Because after 2 weeks, you go back and listen to that. 2 weeks. You're going to have evidence. So what you and I are talking about, no one has to believe. They can experience for themselves and have a genuine, personal, direct experience to inform them, not our stories.
Isn't it interesting? So we've all had the experience of saying there's no milk in the fridge or whatever that means for you, good vegan milk, almond milk, whatever. And we say there's no milk in the fridge and we go to the fridge and of course no milk is there. Because we don't believe it is. We have an assumption and we prove that assumption to be correct. So now we may have an assumption in this thinking young-based world that we are all there is. Everything is of the mind. It is of science. Not that science hasn't saved my life a dozen times over and my baby's. But when we write this down, it cracks through the veil because of everything we keep discounting is now on the page before us.
It's like this. People who say, I believe in science, are the people who are all lined up looking at the horizon saying the earth is flat. And then someone comes along and says, well, I don't know. I think there's more than meets the eye. A couple of those people ended up in prison because the common belief was that what I see is all there is. What I can perceive is all there is. Any true scientist is going to be very intuitive and say, this is all I see for now. But let's write this down and see what unfolds. And that is true science. What most people call science is truly just closed-minded, secondhand information. That's not science. I know scientists. They are investigators, they are detectives, and they are available to learn something new. It's the point of their whole effort.
Well, now I'm going to throw the match onto the flame of the salt anyway. It's the difference between religion, which is a dogma, or can be. I better not label everything. And spirituality, which may be more open-minded, but could be just as dogma as well. It's about being open-minded to possibility.
Right. I think that the world right now, I was reading that at least in the Western world and in America, we are at the lowest level of religious attendance we've ever been. And that's because religion has been constructed that there is a father figure and we must be good boys and girls and be children. It's even in many of the languages, but that is not an empowered consciousness. So people are saying, well, I'm not going to be submissive to these proxy father figures called priests and ministers. I look to, and again, I'll go back to the the authority within. So as we begin to evolve, I actually am not so hot on spirituality either, because that can often be just your ego faking you out too, with a lot more spiritual dogma. I like the word spirited. Be spirited. Let the inner spirit lead and guide and be that directive authority. And when you're spirited, you're good. You are aligned with your authentic self, and you are prepared to own that. That's what I always say, be spirited.
Do you know the name Hayao Miyazaki?
No.
Hayao Miyazaki is one of the most amazing animators in the world, who made one of the most amazing animated movies in the world called Spirited Away, about the adventures of a young girl. You will love Spirited Away.
I'm going to put it on my to-do list for tonight.
Excellent. So speaking of little kids, what in the world do tantrums and meltdowns have to do with our intuition?
Well, the thing is, the ego that's driving the bus of our lives, which is the inauthentic self and the unqualified self. First of all, your ego is not qualified because it's only working on what's past. It can't see what's in, feel, or sense what's around the corner. Okay, so when it's starting to lose power, but it doesn't really want to give it up, it'll throw a fit. It'll throw a fit. And it'll make you scared. And what it really means is that you're not listening to what really takes care of you. And your ego's trying like mad by being dramatic. But you have to get underneath that and say, what do I need really? And honor that.
You know what's cool to me? Thank you. What's cool to me about a fit is that you said get under it. Usually what is immediately under the fit. So we're looking for places to stay, and we're going to see a place today that chances are that's going to be the place. It's going to be even better than I expected, and it meets almost none of my criteria. And so my ego is going, no, that's not where I want to go at all. But when I hear that level of the little child in me going, no, I know actually we may be on to something, that the ego is about to lose control because something is there.
Bigger than they can control. And plus, we have to know there's something about our basic reptilian ego brain. It doesn't like change. It just doesn't, because it perceives change as threat. So what you do is you breathe into it and say, okay, well, I hear you. Let's check it out anyway. And say, I'll give myself a choice, but at least I'll see what my options are. So when your intuition gives you guidance, you don't have to slam it down and shut it off because you're uncomfortable. Just say, I'll check it out, and then I'll decide. I have found as a teacher, if you give yourself a choice, instead of say, if your intuition says something, you must do it, because you'll rebel. You just say, okay, I'll give myself a choice, then you will go with it more often than not.
What are your ways now? You've evolved a lot over the years. What are the ways that you are either bathing in the energy of angels and spirit, or bathing in these higher frequencies to bring your spirit and energy up?
I've been through a lot, but I'm at a place in time where I don't judge much. I look at people and I see we're all just doing the best we can. And if we're on the wrong channel, that must be really hard. So I give a lot of people a pass because I know that they're suffering. If you're on the wrong bus in the wrong neighborhood, you're not going to feel good. So I don't get mad and righteous and judgmental. I just understand it's their journey. They'll find their way home. But if I put a bright light out in my own life, in who I am, and I'm living in integrity, I'm helping without not minding my own business. I'm helping. And I also know the quieter I am in my head, the more reassured I am that we humans are going to move into our spiritual selves and we're going to be okay. I know that.
Woohoo! Just a couple last questions. Importance of finding your tribe.
I do believe that one of the benefits I had growing up was 6 brothers and sisters and a very intuitive mom and a very supportive father. So I never felt like I was the outsider. And so I do think we need community, and we need to go to people who will affirm and uplift us. And we tend to go to people who put us down. So just pay attention. I created the Good Vibe Tribe. I have a community that says, look, if you're an intuitive person and you don't have people get you, I get you, we get you, and you'll get each other. And that helps build confidence. Because our biggest fear is, I don't want to be alone, because we are pack animals. We need each other. So for that reason, we need community.
Perfect segue. On that note, where can people go, Sonia, to find out more, to find your book, and to find your Good Vibe Tribe?
Well, I definitely want you to come to my website, soniachoquette.com. It's my name. I have Trust Your Vibes that I want everybody to get is my new version. It's the yellow cover, because I wrote this 22 years ago, but I've grown a lot. So my new version, in fact, I have a cover here so you can see it because it's so bright. It's bright. This new version has meditations in it. It has new tools that I've learned to get better and better and better at teaching. You can go there. You can go to Amazon, and you can find the Good Vibe Tribe entry point on my homepage. So you can check it out, see if it's for you. I go on every single day and talk to my tribe every day. And I don't talk long, just for a few minutes, but every day I give a tip, a tool, an affirmation. So we really are an interactive, cohesive group. It's a dynamic, really alive group.
Very, very cool. I've got to ask as we wind things down, and this is going to be a question I don't even think any of us can answer. How have you changed if you look back to when you wrote V1 versus now 22 years later?
When I wrote the first book, a great deal of my life, because I was trusting my vibes, worked beautifully. A great deal. I was many miracles, many magic. Since then, my life continued to work beautifully, but I went through some tremendous grief, losses, and pain. Went through the death of my marriage, the death of my dad, the death of my brother, all in 6 weeks between the three of them. I left my country. I lost everything materially because I didn't want to fight a divorce. So I just gave it all away. I had to feel a great deal of human grief and loss. And I think it was because it makes me a more compassionate, better teacher. So I've matured. I've traveled a lot. I've taught around the world. So I've learned to listen and observe people. Okay, that's another thing. And then finally, I have learned that really and truly what I'm teaching, you can trust. It works. I have absolutely been tested and trial by fire.
You and me both. Any last words of wisdom you want to share with people, Sonia?
Trust your vibes.
Woohoo! I'll get Rue for a meditation. How does that sound?
Okay, no problem.
There we go. He's a good Colorado boy, too.
It's my Chinese sign.
Here? Very cool.
The rooster.
Very auspicious.
Yes. So a real rooster. Hi, Roo.
Yeah, he's a real rooster. He loves his meditations. He is energetically so much more sensitive than almost all of us. I don't know if he sees emotions or what it is. You can have an errant thought in one part of the house and he's in the other. And he will start screaming because he's concerned for you. He's very protective. So he's always watching the energy of his flock.
I love that. Michael, this is so wonderful to meet Rue.
You hear that, good boy? You hear that, good boy? Yeah, you a good boy. So he would love to join us in whatever kind of meditation you would like to guide us on.
The first thing I'd like to invite everyone to do that is watching is just to take a look around and notice where you are in the moment. Just enjoy it. Just notice what's beautiful. These are all creations. Everything you see is a creation, a human creation or a God-made creation. And take a breath in through the nose. And as you exhale, let your eyes close and turn your lens inward. And feel that what's going on inside of you is also a beautiful creation. A beautiful creation. And have a breath in and let out the sound ah. And at the bottom of that sigh, you'll land in the center of your heart where you will find a beautiful radiant light. That light gives your heart the power to beat. That is the light that is your life force, your divine self that animates your life experience. And feel that light expanding in all 6 directions. Above and below you, front and back, and to both sides like a huge orb of light going beyond the edges of your body. Know that what drives the light is your heartbeat. And what gives you your heartbeat is the power of your spirit. And feel that glow. Feel the wisdom, the strength, the clarity, the power, and the love. That is who you are. And who you are will always take care of you because who you are is guided by God. Feel the music and the rhythm of that heartbeat and let it be the leader of your life and all will be well. Take another breath in through the nose. Another exhale. Bring your awareness first to the sounds around the room, the feeling, the energy, and when you're ready, you can slowly open your eyes.
Thank you so much, Sonia.
I had a wonderful time with you. Thank you for giving me the honor of being with you today. And thank you for sharing the joy of your brand new little Hana.
How does it get any better than this? Thank you as well.
All my love and all my blessings and all my gratitude.
Thank you. So for everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler saying, be well, have fun, trust your vibes, and begin cranking up that intuition today. And above and beyond all else, shine bright. Woohoo! What a beautiful interview on trusting your vibes and your intuition with Sonia Choquette. On that note, if you want to crank up your intuition, take it to the next level. First off, join our School of Mystics where you learn how to live in that intuitive space. You can find the link below, inspirenationuniversity.com, and begin doing automatic writing through automaticwriting.com so you can communicate with your angels and guides on the other side. On that note, click the subscribe button and the bell icon to be notified of upcoming shows, YouTube premieres, live events with me and Rue every Monday night. Here's a link to the next amazing show. Love you guys so, so much. Keep on shining bright. Woohoo! How does it get any better than this, Rue? How does it get any better than this? Love you guys. Good job, Rue.